I found an article titled "Finding Balance: Assessment in the Middle School Classroom." What drew me to this article was finding balance in middle school. I teach students from grades 6 to 12 and am always interested in learning anything helpful in working with teenagers. Upon reading this article, I found many similarities with our textbook, yet there were many new gems sprinkled throughout. With all that teachers are required to plan for, it has been found that teachers rarely make yearly plans ahead of time for assessment. Teachers have developed a history of making tests at the end of a unit of instruction just to have a grade listed in their gradebook. I love this quote from the article. Students achieve at higher levels when teachers think more deeply about how their classroom assessments fit into their larger instructional environment. We need to find a balance between summative assessments and formative assessment. These two forms of assessment need to work together so that their combined results show an overall picture. This article states that research shows 3 things that formative assessments does to improve learning. 1. Students need to understand the intended learning and the assessment criteria. 2. Feedback to students is accurate and descriptive. And 3. Students are actively involved with their own assessment. This last part is what intrigued me the most, actively engaging our students to be involved with assessment. More often than not, our students think tests and assessments are created to make them fail. Students rarely see assessments as a way to help them improve. So what are the suggestions the author brings to help students become more involved? 1. Students need to understand the rubric used to grade the assignment, and that the teacher is doing so anonymously. 2. Students can learn and use strategies so they are able to self-assess. 3. Students should, with help from their teacher, set their own goals based on their present progress and look ahead to the next instructional unit. Students need to create their own practice items and/or practice tests based on the target criteria and work with other students to deepen their understanding. And lastly, students should keep track of their own success and communicate that success to others. I believe if we help our middle school students learn how to take ownership of their target aims, learning, and assessments, students will be more productive in higher education and ultimately society. Students who manage their own learning make adjustments, obtain benefits today, and become stronger adults. This article reviews what we have already learned. Assessments purposes need to be clearly stated. The clearer we are, the less confusion and anxiety we create for our students. We need to have a plan set in place before the school year has started that shows how these tests will be integrated long term. Our targets or curricular aims need to be explained so our students know exactly what they mean. When we create our assessment using a variety of question types, we need to check for biases. Then we need to reflect on our choices and ask tough questions. Does my assessment serve its purpose? Would it clearly show if a student has achieved the target aim? Next, we need to make sure we have communicated valuable feedback to the student based on the results of the assessment. The important word here is communication. Even if we've done everything right up until this point, if we don't communicate well the results, then I wonder if everything we have done so far is for naught. I believe that assessments are great tools to show progress and where students need improvement. But many times, the middle student feels once the assessment is over, so is their learning on the topic and they could really care less. We need to model feedback and how it can be useful for the future. So how do we involve our students? After our students have had a very clear learning targets communicated, teachers need to include students in assessing, tracking, and setting goals for their own learning. Students need to learn to make conclusions from their assessment results, take control of their own learning, and decide to implement strategies to help them improve. This may be natural for a few students, but most of our students would need to be shown how to process results, make those decisions, change the strategies, and make adjustments so future goals may be met. I love the analogy in the article of practice days and game days. Just like a coach prepares a team for a big game day by making sure there's sufficient practice, so we, as our students' coach, need to supply enough practice over the right amount of content to achieve the target aim. Students achieve more when topics are broken into smaller pieces with plenty of practice, such as homework, classwork, drafts, and/or oral communication. This type of formative assessment should be recorded separately from the summative assessments. And this is where the balance comes in. A balance of both types of assessments, formative and summative, will make sure the students have mastered the curricular aim. The author in closing makes several important statements. The balance between both types of assessment can be a great benefit to teachers. The high-stake, end-of-the-year tests that seem so important are only one small part of the assessment. Most of a student's assessment will be teacher-designed and applied to what the child is learning each day of the year. To quote the last paragraph, once teachers know how to do it right, assess accurately, and use it well to both promote and verify learning, they can use the entire assessment process as a fulcrum to help students learn how to self-manage their own learning. And for the students in the middle, that contribution to their success can be truly lifelong. So I'd like to end with this question. 1. What specific activities should we follow to fit assessments into the larger instructional environment? 2. What can teachers do to demonstrate to students how to become more involved in assessment? And 3. How do we motivate students to take the initiative to be more involved with assessment? I thank you for listening to my talk. Thank you very much.